Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm David Mensa, Israeli government spokesman. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd of May, 2024, day 229 of the October 7th war. And our war aims remain precisely the same: to destroy Hamas's military and governing capabilities, to free all 128 hostages, and to ensure that Gaza does not pose a threat to Israel ever again. All of our objectives are within reach. Firstly, here are some operational updates in the last 24 hours alone. IDF troops are bravely fighting in the north, the south, and the center of Gaza, uprooting terrorists and destroying tunnels. Every day, IDF forces eliminate more terrorists, discover and dismantle more terror infrastructure. In Jabalia, soldiers arrived at a mosque to find Hamas-stored missiles and rocket launchers there. In eastern Rafah, they located a tunnel shaft with a weapons warehouse laden with munitions. Dozens of terrorists were eliminated. In Khan Yunis, IDF targeted and killed a terrorist who took part in the October 7th massacre and led anti-tank fire against our forces. And to nobody's surprise, well, that's if you've been following the pattern, our troops discovered a Hamas military compound located inside an UNRWA school. Yes, that's right, inside an UNRWA school. UNRWA, who we are constantly advised to continue working with. And while Hamas terrorists keep using civilian structures and human beings as their shields for their protection, some European countries have decided to incentivize these same sick methods of war. As you might have heard, Ireland, Norway, and Spain have decided to reward the terrorists of Hamas with the prize of recognizing a Palestinian state. It is certainly not lost on Israelis and Jews the world over that these same three countries also chose to remain neutral in World War II. Seems like they didn't mature to realize that history remembers the appeasers, and now they are giving a prize to the rapists and the murderers who are still holding our stolen people in captivity. Ireland, Norway, and Spain are telling Hamas in a loud and clear voice that the October 7th massacre pays off. They are telling Palestinians that educating children to terrorism and refusing to accept a Jewish state pays off. There is no talk of bridge building, of coexistence, of bringing people together. No. These countries encourage and perpetuate war, more conflict, more bloodshed, not less. Don't be mistaken. Empty slogans and impromptu solutions are not real peace. Peace would require deep changes within the Palestinian society. It will take a Gaza that is demilitarized and de-radicalized, because any artificial attempt at so-called peace or a stopgap to the next Hamas invasion of Israel is simply not peace. Israel's foreign minister has instructed the immediate recall of Israel's ambassadors to Ireland and Spain and Norway. We send a clear and unequivocal message to their leaders. Israel will not remain silent in the face of those undermining our sovereignty and endangering our security. This Irish, Norwegian, Spanish folly does not deter us. Their response to the worst killing, the worst day of Jew killing since the Holocaust, is to reward the terrorists. You know, like some bizarre, devilish mirroring of history, when the State of Israel was established, after only 11 minutes, the United States was the very first country in the world to recognize Israel on May 14th, 1948, by President Harry Truman. Today, Hamas was the first to welcome Spain, Norway, and Ireland announcement. Hamas commits genocide against my people on October 7th, and they are rewarded with recognition. What next? Might Norway recognize ISIS? They have recognized a state that promotes hate, racism, and anti-Semitism in its curriculum. Ireland has form, of course. None of us forget that Ireland signed the Book of Condolence when Hitler himself killed himself. Next, I want to draw your attention to what the Prime Minister said overnight on CNN. After making the point about 500,000 tons of aid that have gone into Gaza, the almost 30,000 trucks brimming with food, medicine, water, shelter, that's 300 football stadiums full of aid that have gone in. Indeed, 462 trucks just yesterday. The Prime Minister dealt with the charge of malnutrition in Gaza. The Prime Minister said, quote, "They talk about 23 or 30 cases of malnutrition in a population of 2 million. The United States in 2022 had 20,000 deaths for malnutrition. That's 3 times more than in Gaza." So this is completely false. It's the kind of slander that has been leveled against the Jewish people for ages, and it's renewed now again against the Jewish state. It was false then, and it's false now. End quote. Next, in terms of the post-war plan, the Prime Minister shared his 3-point plan and said, quote, "The day after Hamas is the day after Hamas. We have to get rid of Hamas. Otherwise, there's no future for Gaza, no future for peace, and it'll be a tremendous victory for not only Hamas, but for the Iran terror axis that backs it and organizes it, together with Hezbollah and the Houthis and other terrorist organizations. Rafah is the last stronghold of the Hamas terrorist battalions. We will defeat them, and that will end the intense part of the fighting." End quote. Next, the Prime Minister spoke about the next stage after Hamas is defeated, and I quote, What we have to do is have sustained demilitarization of Gaza. Israel is the only force that can prevent the resurgence of terrorism for the foreseeable future. At the same time, we want a civilian administration that is run by Gazans who are neither Hamas nor committed to our destruction. The third thing that I would do is have a reconstruction of Gaza done by the moderate Arab states and international community. That's demilitarization, civilian administration by local Gazans who are not committed to Israel's destruction, and responsible reconstruction, end quote. So in response to those that want to put a Palestinian Authority into Gaza, the Prime Minister reminded that the Palestinian Authority still teaches its children to seek the destruction of Israel, and it still pays terrorists. It pays terrorists monthly stipends, the infamous pay for slay policy. The more Jews they kill, the more they pay. And finally, I want to draw your attention to a video of our precious hostages, which will be shown tonight at 6 p.m. Jerusalem time. The parents of 5 young ladies have agreed to show this 3-minute film. These girls are still in captivity of Hamas. Please don't look away. Watch the film. Do not look away. Support Israel in bringing our people home. So that's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you should put in the chat with your news outlet. Thank you very much.
First question from Joel Pollack from Breitbart News. There are reports that most of the aid delivered to Gaza from the floating pier is being stolen. How much of that aid is being stolen, and is any of it actually reaching Palestinians?
Thank you for your question, Joel. Yes, indeed, much of that aid is being stolen from that CENTCOM pier that has been set up by the US. This is the problem we're facing. Israel wants to get as much aid into Gaza as it possibly can, and much of the aid is being looted by Palestinians because by Hamas, that want to starve their own people because it looks good on the media, unfortunately. But none of right-thinking people should fall for it. We're getting as much aid as we possibly can in. The challenge is to get it distributed properly. And we continue to work with partners that will distribute aid so that it reaches ordinary Gazans inside Gaza. For further information, you should reach out to COGAT to get more information on that. Next question, please.
Another question from Joel Pollack. The U.S. government extended condolences to Iran on the death of Iranian President Raisi. Does the Israeli government also express its condolences?
Thank you for that question, Joel. No, we don't express our condolences. Raisi was president of a regime which the terrorists of Tehran orchestrated, fund, and continue to seek the destruction of this country. Indeed, it's the only case in the United Nations where a UN member, Iran, seeks to destroy another UN member, Israel. So there are no tears being shed here in Israel for the death of this tyrant. These tyrants in Iran need to be stood up to. They cannot be appeased. And any of this sort of fake expressions of regret about what has happened to these Iranian leaders is, it turns our stomach, to be blunt. Next question, please.
We have the next questions from Friedrich Eger and Selgi Vasidal on the topic of the recognition of a Palestinian state. I will read them one after the other as they revolve around the same topic. What actions will Israel take in response to Ireland, Spain, and Norway's recognition of a Palestinian state? What will be Israel's position if more and more countries recognize a Palestinian state, or if the UN Security Council, UN General Assembly recognizes and grants a full membership to the UN? And why have you decided to withdraw diplomats from the embassies in Norway, Spain, Ireland? What will happen with ambassadors in Israel?
So thank you for those questions. In my statement at the start of this briefing, I made crystal clear what Israel's response has been. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Foreign Minister, Israel Katz, has made clear that we are recalling our ambassadors to those 3 countries. We are also have invited in a strong démarche today those ambassadors in Israel, the Spanish, the Irish, and the Norwegian ambassadors, to come into the foreign ministry to be shown some of that footage I talked to you about of those poor, helpless girls who were kidnapped and are being held hostage on October 7th. Look, the idea of rewarding the terrorist actions of October the 7th, there is no other word for it. It is obscene. It is obscene to reward terrorist actions with the offer of statehood. This is not an encouragement for coexistence. This is not an encouragement for bridge building. This is not an encouragement for bringing people together. That we could respect here in Israel. What we cannot respect, that countries would reward, and it is a reward. The message will go out today far and wide to all terrorist organizations that commit October 7th style massacres, rapes, beheadings, burnings of babies, and you will get what you want. Just within a short 7 or 8 month period, you will get your demands will be acceded to. Who celebrates this recognition? Iran celebrates this recognition, the enemy of the West. Who else celebrates this recognition? Hamas celebrates this recognition. What can the dastardly leaders of Hamas in their terror tunnels be thinking right now? They're thinking right now, we have no reason to return these poor hostages, our 128 stolen people. We've got no reason to send them back to Israel, both the dead and the live ones. Why should we? Because our actions have been rewarded. Our terrorist actions, our inhumane actions have been rewarded in this sick recognition. This recognition is obscene, and Israel stands wholeheartedly against it. Next question, please.
We have two more questions. I'll take this one from David Clement from the News Forum in Canada first. He says, both Canada's Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister have said that they respect the independence of the ICC. Should they respect the decision of the ICC if it proceeds with warrants against Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant?
So the Prime Minister has made clear over the last 24 hours that any right-thinking country should not bow to this sort of perverse arrest warrant if it is indeed granted by the ICC. This is a rogue prosecutor, a prosecutor that's trying to make a name for himself instead of doing what he can to bring these terrorists and the terrorist supporters in Iran who back them, who finance them, who direct them. He does none of those things. He goes after the democracy that is defending itself from this terrorist army invasion. So the comments to fellow countries and democracies that love freedom, that support Israel's right to defend itself, then they should indeed, when we do carry out that right to defend ourselves, while at the same time minimizing in the most, in no other example of urban warfare has there been such a low occurrence of civilian casualties. In not one, bar none. We know that the ratio is down to about 1 to 1, one terrorist to one civilian being killed. Now, of course, every civilian killed is a tragedy, but of course, this is Hamas's strategy. And for this action to be rewarded by the ICC, it is obscene as well. Throughout history, Israel has very often stood alone against tyrants that would seek our destruction. We do not feel we're standing alone now. There are many countries that understand our situation and back our efforts to rid our region of these terrorists and these Islamic fanaticists. But countries should stand firm if they believe in freedom, if they believe in democracy, if they believe in justice, to not allow this ICC farce to gain any more traction.
And the last question from Hannah Julian. Homefront Command has declared Mount Meron as a closed military zone until next Monday, and the mayor of Tiberias has likewise closed Rabbi Akiva's tomb for the same reason, concerned that any large gathering of Jews would present an attractive target for Hezbollah missile fire. Has there been any movement towards a diplomatic resolution of the security situation in the north? How much longer are residents of northern Israel likely to be displaced?
Thank you for that question, Hannah. So public safety in Israel is our number one concern. The plight of more than 60,000 residents of the north that have been displaced from their homes in the north of Israel is one of the aspects of our war against Hamas and Hezbollah that has not been talked about much in the international media. Israel will defend itself. Israel has made clear that it wishes to allow for there to be a diplomatic resolution to the situation in Lebanon. But UN resolutions are crystal clear. They haven't been adhered to, unfortunately, since the day they were written and voted upon at the United Nations. But the resolutions are extremely clear that there should be no Hezbollah. They should be behind the Litani River. We want there to be a diplomatic resolution, but if there is not, then we will employ the same tactics that we've employed to destroy Hamas. We will deploy them in the north as well. This country will be defended. Any other questions? No? Great. Thank you very much. We'll have the next briefing tomorrow at the same time. In the meantime, please do stay safe, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.